Welcome back to Country Tough with Brandy von Holten. Today I have a returning interviewee, and this right here is Lee Hart. Lee Hart has been the longest returning clinician at Horten Ranch since we opened in 2014. So this year is our 10-year anniversary of being open. It's 2024, and Lee has been here every year, maybe even twice a year. We have went from one-day clinics, we've done 2-day clinics, we've done 5-day clinics. He has done clinics before competitions. He has judged competitions here. And now we're doing 3 days. So we've done 1, 2, 3, and 5-day clinics here. I don't think we ever did a 4.
No, we haven't done a 4 before.
Have not done a 4. So, all right. So Lee Hart, whenever I met him, he lived in Kansas, but now you live in
Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
Kentucky. All right. So what's some big differences in general between Kansas and Kentucky?
See, you caught me off guard there. I wasn't expecting that one. One of the big differences is I thought I was moving to a warmer environment. And turns out the weather's exactly the same basically as Kansas, except it's wetter.
Oh,
so
okay. That
we
sounds
get lots
miserable.
Of rain. Oh, yeah.
You get
40 and wet during the winter all the time. It is miserable.
Okay. You know, I seen another clinician's Facebook post this year because Dan James is in Kentucky as well. And he posted like, hey, Mother Nature forgot to give Kentucky spring. Like it just left it out. He was all bundled up and I was like, oh man, he's not very far from you. But Kentucky was still cold.
It's still cold and, but Kentucky is beautiful, the green grass everywhere, and it doesn't take a lot of acreage to run a horse, and
okay,
so it's a pretty nice country.
Kansas has always got the Wizard of Oz and those red ruby slippers and all that, and then Kentucky, the thing that I think of is the Kentucky Derby. So do you have any clients that have racehorses or anything that's in Kentucky?
I actually don't. I don't have any that have any racehorses or anything. We all cheer for it and stuff like that, but we're usually in Alabama during the first weekend of May when the Derby's going on because there's a big EXCA race at an amazing facility there.
Okay. So, Lee, I'm going to talk about some changes that I've seen with you because, Von Holten Ranch is our trail riding facility. We won Missouri's Best Ranch this year, and we took this. We call it a dead family farm because nobody had lived on this farm since 1979, and then we bought it in 2013 and opened in 2014, okay? So now 10 years, we got the number 10 in our last name, Von Holten, but we've had you here this whole time. So I'll tell you some changes that I have because I've taken all of your clinics whenever you've been here. I don't think I've ever not taken a clinic whenever you sometimes we have other events going on, like we might have Chicks in the Sticks, or sometimes I get booked to do some kind of presentation somewhere. So, but most of the time I try to clear my calendar so I can actually train with you because I train so many other people with our competition series, like our Country Tough Trail Versatility. This is our 7th year in a row with that going on, and my clinics are full with that. So like I don't want to be stagnant water because stagnant water is stinky, and that's what people are that are not evolving. So I always love training with you because you're always evolving. So there was a couple of times. First of all, I had never taken a horseback riding lesson or anything, and I was already competing. I was 33 whenever I took my first lesson, and it was with you. And now we've had I think we've had 47 or 48 different clinicians throughout the last 10 years, but you're our common thread that keeps on coming back, and then we do other people. So I know a big change in you happened whenever you started taking some dressage lessons. That was a big change in your clinics. Another big change was whenever you started competing in some Mustang competitions, and your groundwork felt like it changed a lot with me. And now then, you have changed again, we just got through with a clinic, and I feel like I had more growth, but I was also ready for growth. I'm ready for growth. You know, like you ever get fed up and you're just like, you're done with it and you're ready to address something. I'm there, but then so many people said that this was their best clinic they've ever had with you. So let's talk about a few things, okay? So can you think of another big moment in your life that has changed you or like moved you to like the next chapter in your own horsemanship?
You know, I think one of the big things for me is when I finally got accepted to Road to the Horse in the wild card deal. It just validated that I could do it. I can do it, and I'm good enough. And, you know, just having that self-confidence and being willing to, I was too much of a people pleaser early on. Mm-hmm. And instead of teaching the things that I really wanted to teach that were really, really important a lot of times, I kind of let my customers mold the clinics back then. And I realize now that was a huge mistake because there were too many openings or too many holes left in horses and things like that. So as we've evolved, I've been doing clinics since I was 35. I think is when I did my
And you're 50
first.
now.
I'm 52.
52, so 17 years.
Yeah. And, you know, I started taking some other clinics from other people, and I realized different formats I really liked. And I started kind of following some new things. And, you know, just as you get more education, you're able to understand it. And when that education comes, things that once seemed very complicated to teach to someone else, because you just didn't understand it well enough. You couldn't simplify it enough to explain it to someone that it was just honestly over their head. Mm-hmm. And once you keep getting that knowledge and stuff, and then it becomes simple, because everything we do with a horse should be simple.
Right.
You know.
So this time, right, you have helped me out with so many different animals. I had my big gelding, and for him, he was a challenge for me because I didn't start taking lessons on him until he was like 7 or 8. And then it turns out I didn't know what I was doing at all, and I was just a passenger. And then to go straight into EXCA racing where I'm like, no, you're going to have a lead departure with the back right foot, not the back left foot, and I'm going to jump, and I'm going to do all this stuff. He went from not having to work for a living to having to work really hard for a living, and it was hard for him to go to work because he had had that lazy life. So that was one horse. Then I had a horse that was pretty reactive that you helped me out with. And I had another horse that was pretty reactive, and I shipped that one on because it was not the right match for me. I don't know if you remember that black and white paint.
I absolutely do.
I had 2 vets and 2 trainers that told me that is not the right horse for you. And I was just so bent on it being the right horse for me. It was not the right horse for me. And now that I've owned this trail riding facility for 10 years, I'm just like, that's not the right horse for you. You know, now you see it, but people don't want to hear it.
We want people to be safe. And when you see it's not the right match, that their energies just don't match up, you know, they don't want to hear it because they love their horse. And I understand you love your horse, but sometimes we just have to make changes.
You know, I want to die with horses, not from horses. And I've had to tell that to some people before. I'm like, you want to die with a horse, not from a horse, right? And then I'm like, y'all the wrong people. You know, it's like there's so many horses that are great personality for you. You've also helped me with the horse that I rode today was named Glamour, and I broke her and everything. You've been with me the whole journey of me doing that one on my own. You've helped me. I rode a Pasofino one time in one of your clinics for a client of mine, and I've had a Missouri Foxtrotter mule, a Tennessee Walker mule, and I rode my husband's almost not trained Leopard Appaloosa once. I can't think of any other horses, but what a collection of weirdos that I have brought to you and been like, help me out. I remember, you know which one I had the most fun on was that dang Pasofino. Mm-hmm. Well, and then my horse this weekend, I felt like I made the biggest progress on that. I've had some other big weekends, but this one, I think because I'm in the right state of mind, I'm ready to change. So you've helped me with all of these animals. So tell us, how many states are you doing clinics in right now? And then you've went to other countries doing clinics. So tell us about those.
Well, like this year, we've already been from the East Coast to the West Coast. I've been on the East Coast to 2 different clinics this year.
Like Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania, Massachusetts. I also have been to California, Arizona, Texas, Kansas.
Missouri. Hey.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we cover a pretty broad range of places we go. I'm going in August. I'm going back to Belgium again. That'll be great. It's a good group of people out there.
This is like your, 3rd year there? 4th year?
4th or 5th. Yeah.
4th or 5th. Okay. Yeah. So, Lee, how compare yourself now to the cowboy that you were in the past, okay? What's the biggest change that you think has in the last few years that's really, because every time I see you, you're polished up. You know, you just keep polishing and polishing and polishing.
Well, I want to keep getting better. I know if you get stagnant, if you quit trying to improve yourself, that pretty soon you're getting worse. And I just want to keep getting better, and I want more. I want to be able to help the horse more. And I think this year my approach to my clinics and stuff is I keep telling people, for the horse, not for you. Mm-hmm. Always riding for the horse. And I just want people to really understand how amazing these animals are. And when the horse gets in trouble, be there to help them out. I'm not saying you don't bring a lot of pressure if you have to in certain times. But what I am saying is look at it from their perspective. And, you know, early on I preached that physical softness. We worked a lot of exercises to get the horses physically soft. Nowadays I really focus in on that physical softness in a clinic, but also the mental softness side of it. So if you've got a horse that's a little bit of a basket case, I can help you get to that other side and, you know, help them to get better.
Okay. So let's talk about the confidence circle. Okay. That right there really helped out a lot. So let me preference this with, I'll tell you about my mare. Her name is Glamour. And Glamour, she used to scare me a little bit because she's fast and she's pushy and she's chargy and she bobs her head up and down like she's trying to get apples and it's Halloween or something. But we have been working through some of that. And then I have had some extreme difficulty with my right lead, but that's because I have been very, very heavy with my left lead because I do mounted archery. Mounted archery for me is all left lead. And I just got back from the Midwest Horse Fair where they had me doing like presentations and lectures and stuff. And she was my backup and I needed everything to be perfect. So I did not do her right because we worked left lead only. I basically made a racehorse, you know, because we were only one-sided. And now I'm trying to fix that. So let's talk about this confidence circle, though, helped me out so much this weekend. And then we were able to work on the right lead. So let's talk about that confidence circle. So that seemed like your go-to thing whenever things were getting out of control or not out of control, or you just needed to bring your horse back. So
a confidence circle, it's just a softening drill for the horse. But what's cool about it is because you're softening that horse around your inside leg and your inside hand, and you're driving them forward around in that circle. And what's cool about it is it softens the whole body from the tip of the tail to the tip of the nose of the horse. And when you do that, when you truly get that softness in the horse all at once, they're able to let down because it brings the head down below the withers. And then they'll release and they'll process and they'll be in that thinking side of their brain instead of that reactive side of their brain. One of the big things that people just don't pay attention to when they're riding their horses is when that head goes up and both ears go forward, there's your warning. They're going to get reactive. Address it before it's a problem. But most people, when they're riding around and they're in a new spot, they're like, oh, I got to let him look at this. I got to let him look at that. Well, in that moment, you're actually telling the horse, hey, bud, I don't have enough confidence to help you through this. You need to figure it out and take care of both of us. And the honest truth is the horse doesn't have that ability, most of them.
Right.
They need you to be the leader and help them through the situations.
So for staying in that confidence circle, if your horse's head is still bobbing, then you've got to stay there. You've got to stay in that confidence circle until they get to that thinking side.
Well, it's a tricky deal there because you want to stay in until they get soft, but you don't want to stay so long that it turns into just a bunch of circles. So you've got to really feel it. And when you get that change, just because you're thinking you need to do a whole circle, you may pick up and that horse feels of you, and it may happen in the very initial bend of it. And you need to release and go out and give that horse, mark that spot when that horse was right.
I had to, with the confidence circles that we were working on, had to wait till the head would stop. As soon as it would stop moving, then we would go out of it. Or we would go into a confidence circle, and then she was trying to push to the outside, and then I had to meet it there with pressure from my outside leg to be like, no, don't push outside of that. Or if she got too slow, I would have to add some, get some rhythm into the feet with my outside leg, because that gave me a little bit of propulsion?
Impulsion, yeah.
Impulsion.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so that confidence circle, though, it was really nice because whenever we were working rollbacks, and then she would become a fire breathing dragon, get the head up, and she's shaking her head, and I'm like, oh, it gave us something to go back into and then go back to the drill. So it's like I would get her back into thinking, and then we'd go back to the drill. So if I used it correctly, because a lot of times I take notes, and then I like to go through things with you to make sure that I process things the way that you wanted it processed. So was that correct?
That's correct. The big thing is when you're out there and you're working and you feel that horse leave you mentally, and they get hot, they get on the muscle. It's important that when they do that, that's equivalent to a human having an anxiety attack. So in that moment, they're really not capable of really focusing in on you. Can you wrestle your way to the other side? Yeah, a lot of people do. But for me, I know that if I'm there and I help the horse through that moment, and then I go back to work, the horse is going to get better and better.
Well, and that's what I seen this weekend. I made so many changes. So let's talk about what's your favorite length of clinic? If you got to choose where you were trying to get not just prepared for a competition, because I know the clinics before a competition, you're trying to get settled in at the place, and it gives you a good warm up, So, but we're talking about like if people was a trail rider and they've never done a clinic, what's your favorite length of clinic?
3 days.
3 days.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about your format and what are some things that you like. Because people always say, well, what does he cover? And I'm like, man, it's a progressive horsemanship is what I say, because it is nice to do all 3 days because you build upon them. But what are some things that you work on?
Well, first off, I teach people how to warm up their horses when they come into a new place, how to help their horses get to that side to where that horse is really thinking. And we do that through body control exercises and things like that. And we really, my exercises that I've borrowed from lots of different other people and I've adapted for myself and I teach, they tie together. And, I do a lot of rhythm-based training exercises where you're working on redirecting, you go from a hip disengagement to backing the horse to stepping the shoulders across. All of those movements that feel like, that have some rhythm. So when you and your horse get to flowing out there, it's like you're dancing. And, if you can get that going on, then you've really got that horse soft and supple, and he's matching your energy. In the last couple of years, I've put a lot of transition work into my clinics. And, I had I just happened to be standing in the right spot this weekend at the clinic, and we were working on stops just off of our seat. And, most people say, I want my horse to stop like that. But most people aren't willing to do the slow work to get it to happen. So we were going through that exercise where you sit with your seat and you wait and you don't pick up with your hands until, you don't pick up with your hands until the horse has had a chance to process that cue that you just presented.
Right.
And all 11 riders in unison, as I said, set.
Oh.
Did it correctly. Their horses stopped without them picking up their reins. It was just amazing. It was absolutely rewarding to me as an instructor to see I'm here helping them and I'm making a difference. And, it's no different than your child taking their first step.
Right.
That's why I teach and I love to teach, because I get to see a lot of those first steps.
One of the clinic participants this weekend, her name is Wanda. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Wanda was just like, I really like this guy. And she's like, you can tell that he cares about teaching and he's not here just for the money. He's like, yeah, this is his job, but he actually cares about his job. And I was like, man, Lee's got to hear that. That people are like, wow, he actually cares, so, well, and like with having horsemanship lessons, I'll tell you this right here is everybody needs a lesson. Even if you're an amazing rider, it is so nice to go and take a clinic, because then you've got eyes on the ground. You got eyes on you. The things that you get on to me for is what I get on to people for that are taking my clinics. And I'm like, man, I get in trouble for the same thing. So it just really it's so nice to take a clinic and be an active learner. I think it's just, we all love these animals and we all want to ride longer and not get hurt. And that takes time. It takes time. And I feel like having a trainer, not somebody that's riding your horse for you, but somebody, if you're taking a clinic, it sure does help you. It feels like it just slingshots you forward in your horsemanship. And, but I mean, there is a time and place whenever you need to have a trainer do something, whenever you need them to step in, them set in a good foundation for you. And then, something that I love is whenever somebody that is riding a horse for, other people, and then they allow them to take lessons while that horse is in training. Because the person that's riding your horse is better than you are, okay? Or you wouldn't have hired them probably.
Well, we hope so anyhow.
Yeah, we hope so. We hope you didn't hire somebody that's worse than you, right? Well, that horse or mule or donkey or whatever it is going to understand that language. Well, then that trainer needs to teach you that same language for your horse, or you're setting them up for not a successful transition back to you being the one that's in the saddle.
Yes.
So one time I've told this joke before, and I heard it from another clinician, but they had talked about how there was an old man and an old woman, and they were sitting around, and the old woman rolls up a newspaper and hits the old man and says, "That's for not being a good lover." And then the old man sat there for a little bit, and he rolled up a newspaper and hit her back, and he says, "That's for knowing the difference." Okay? So these horses, if you're riding in their mouth and you're like acting like they're a motorcycle, and then you get a really nice rider on there that helps them, that horse is going to know the difference between somebody that knows when to release pressure at the correct time and when to release and how to turn and not be in their mouth, riding it like it's a set of handlebars. And then whenever they go back to you, they're going to be upset because they're going to be like, "What? I did my job and you're still in my mouth." So that's why these clinics become very important, to help you communicate better with your animal and to be honest with them and to be, have a good working relationship so you can be safe and they can be healthy and safe as well. So, Lee, how do they find you?
Oh, word of mouth for the most part. I'm on Facebook, and I've got I'm on Facebook. That's what I really use.
Okay,
yeah. I've got a website too, and
okay, so they can look up Hart Training, and it does no E, and they're just HART. Okay, Hart Training, and you can always just contact me, and I can get you into contact with him and help you find Lee, because he's everywhere. He's everywhere. He's not I mean, he comes to Missouri a couple of times a year. You come to Kansas a couple of times a year because you've had so many clients in Kansas because you used to live there.
Yes.
So, and now you're pretty consistent in Kentucky.
It's big in Kentucky.
Yeah, it's real big. So, and if you wanted to know what Lee's done in his past, he races in the Extreme Cowboy Association. He competes in the Colt division. He competes in the Pro division. He's competed in the Mustang division. And then before that, he was a saddle bronc rider. Is that right?
Ranch bronc rider for the most part.
Ranch bronc rider. What's the difference between ranch bronc riding and saddle bronc riding?
Well, ranch bronc riding, that's at the ranch rodeos. And they're kind of more just a traditional like thing. So you're in a working ranch saddle. It's not really set up for bronc riding. It actually has a saddle horn and everything.
Oh, okay.
And I competed in the WRCA, the Working Ranch Cowboy Association, for quite a few years and was really successful at it there.
Okay. All right. Well, this right here is Lee Hart. We have him at Von Holten Ranch twice a year. And if you want to come to Von Holten Ranch, you can go to, now my last name's German, so I'll spell it for you, but it's VONHOLTEN and then ranch.com. You can find us on whatever you want to look us up on, you can find us on. Okay, you can find us. We've got websites, TikToks, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, whatever. If you can spell my last name, I'm going to come up. So, all right, it's always a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you at a Lee Hart clinic at Von Holten Ranch. Thanks for tuning in to Country Tough with Brandy Von Holten.